Hello, my name is Bree, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Breezy Banter, the place where I talk about the things I want to talk about. In today's video, I'm doing a continuation of the series that I have here on my channel, which is that of an anti-haul. Very long story short, I didn't intend on going so long between filming an anti-haul, but I accidentally left one of the parts to my camera tripod in another location. It didn't make sense for me to buy another one. So the most recent one that I posted was like September 21st. So I have about 2.5 months worth of new releases to go through. I think that will be kind of interesting because I think a lot of us in the makeup community can get caught up in the new releases, right? We see something new and it might be really pretty because it's makeup and we want to buy it. And in many cases, we do often buy it. And so I think looking back at what is only 2.5 months of releases will make me reflect on how much can be released in 2.5 months and how quickly we can forget about those new exciting releases after a very minimal amount of time has passed. So with that in mind, that explains why it's been so long. That wasn't my intent, but let's get into it. So I have Instagram and point click vibes in front of me. I'm just going to go through and pick the things that I think I have something interesting to say. I certainly don't have time to go through each and every one of them. The first thing that I see here is a ColourPop release. It's the Fresh Kiss Glossy Balm, and I'm fairly certain that they are intending on duping the Summer Fridays lip balm that a lot of people seem to like. And I have conflicting thoughts on dupes, and I've mentioned it before. I think it'd be really interesting for me to do a video sort of deep diving into dupes. In theory, I'm not against them. I think at a very high level, I'm not against them. I think there are very few things in makeup that are actually new. So everything's just kind of working. Everything is just kind of building on what is being released before. That said, I think one of my complaints about dupes is that I want there to be more creativity within the makeup sphere. And I also feel like I personally believe that there are a lot of people who care about products only because of who is releasing them. I don't think, for example, Charlotte Tilbury is that great of a company. And I don't think her products are anything to write home about. But people go nuts because it's Charlotte Tilbury, right? And I think dupes are, I like that they sort of make it clear that what the original company is doing isn't actually that revolutionary. But at the same time, I don't want something just because Charlotte Tilbury released it, even if I'm not willing to pay Charlotte Tilbury prices. So whether or not it's a dupe of something like that, generally speaking, doesn't really play into it. I also feel like when things are dupes, a lot of companies charge more money. So I think we saw this most recently with the e.l.f., I can't remember what it's called now, but like the skin tint thing that was duping Charlotte Tilbury. And I want to say that when that came out, at least in Canada, it was like $20, it might have been $23 or even $24. And like, that's not standard e.l.f. pricing. e.l.f. has definitely gone up in price over the years, but if that wasn't a dupe, I'm fairly certain that that would be half the price, like maybe $12. But because it's a dupe, and because a $24 version of that product is so much cheaper than the Charlotte Tilbury version of that product, they can get away with charging that. And I don't like that. Maybe, at best case, I simply want that product, regardless of who makes it, expecting that there's some level of quality that's being maintained. I hope that makes sense, but all of that to say, I don't care about the Summer Fridays lip balm, whatever it is. I have lip balms in my life that I already like, so these provide me no interest whatsoever. I'm not even gonna put a picture of this on screen. Glamlight just comes out with so much stuff, and again, kind of similar to dupes, I just have some grievances with collabs. I want to enjoy makeup because of what it is, not because of what the IP is. And so Glamlight relies very heavily on collaborations, similar to ColourPop, similar to a lot of companies these days. And I think that's only going to get worse in the future, but I don't like that. I just want makeup because makeup is nice and pretty, not because some TV show I watched 20 years ago is collabing with a makeup company. It's very strange to me. So I'm not even going to bother with anything with Glamlight. I am not interested in what they have to release. Next, there's the Viseart Serenades Étendue eyeshadow palette. I think this is really pretty. That said, it seems to me like there's like 2 tones in this eyeshadow palette. Like, although I like all of these colors because I like, generally speaking, neutral shimmer eyeshadow, and that's like what this is giving me in spades, I just feel like of those 8 of those 9 sparkle shades, you're gonna get like 4 different colors, and of the 3 mattes, you're gonna get 2 different colors. You can't tell me that the second color in the top row and the first color in the middle row are different shades. You can't. That's going to look the same on every single person once it's applied. So although this is pretty, I just wish there was more variety in it. I feel like that dark brown in the bottom, if there was just more of that, maybe I need to see it swatched. Do they have it swatched? Okay, they do. Yeah, this just looks like all of the same. The color Siren looks really pretty. I think that's sort of the purpley one in the bottom row, the pinky purpley one, but it looks nice. I just don't need it. I already have this 1,000 times over in my collection. And next, I want to talk about this again because I believe I already spoke about this in another anti-haul and I had indicated my interest for it, but this is the Superstay Teddy Tint Long Lasting Matte Lip Tint, which is now available at Ulta. In the US, it is $13. However, I happened to go on the Shoppers Drug Mart website yesterday, and let me do it right now. And when I was looking at it, it is $22 Canadian for a Maybelline lip gloss. Like, I'm baffled. I know drugstore prices have gone up, but A, I don't understand why it's like double the price, what it is in the US. But also B, like, I don't want to spend $22 on a lip product from Maybelline at the drugstore. It just feels so surreal that this is what it's come to. Even if this was like the American price, if this was $13 Canadian, I would pause before purchasing it. I think I would likely wait for a sale. I'd probably purchase it around $10, but like, it's gonna have to go on sale for more than 50%. It's gonna have to go on sale for like 60% off at this point for me to purchase it, which I don't expect that it will. And that's just really disappointing. I don't get it. Okay, the Patrick Ta eyeshadow duos. I don't think I already talked about these. If I did, I'm sorry. When I first saw these, I was like, these look gorgeous. And then I saw the price and I was like, excuse me? And then I read some Trendmade comments and a lot of people are talking about the price. And I was like, I'm so glad that there are other people who agree with me. My understanding is Patrick Ta is a clean, quote unquote, beauty brand. If I knew that these eyeshadows would not disintegrate, grow mold, whatever, over the course of the next 12 months, I would consider purchasing this. Though I say I would consider purchasing this if they were heavily discounted, not at the 42 American dollars. I think I saw that these were like 58 or something in Canada, which is absurd. Like, go buy something from Cleona, you're going to be way happier and they won't grow mold within a year. I just don't understand. Well, in some ways I understand the reasoning. Some people will purchase this and some people will purchase it for the purpose of making a video. But I have a difficult time believing that these products will be in people's collections 2 years from now and they'll be able to use it. Because I think that they'll either declutter it because they'll realize how extraneous it is in their collection, or they will have gone off. That said, I know that e.l.f. maybe we'll come to it, never mind. Interesting, there's a release from Smashbox. I literally could not tell you for the life of me what the last release was from Smashbox. Like, if you told me that Smashbox didn't release anything for the past 4 years, I would believe you. These colors look gorgeous. These are right up my alley. I love all of them. Firecracker is probably my favorite. It's just a blue toned red. That said, I know what lip formulas work for me. So, and I suspect that this isn't that. Anything that's kind of in a stick formula like this doesn't tend to work for me. Or stay, it works, but it doesn't last. So I won't be purchasing it. I like seeing it, and who knew that Smashbox was still a brand. I also saw this Frosty the Snowman collection from ColourPop, and I have to say that like, I like this eyeshadow palette. I would not buy it because I don't like blues on myself, but I think this is like lovely as a winter release, and I'm surprised it wasn't more popular, but to me like this actually seems like it fits the season. I guess it's another collaboration with Warner Brothers, so whatever. But I think that eyeshadow palette is beautiful. If I could wear blues, this would definitely be a contender. I'm not sure what the 3 white shades are all doing. Those don't seem different at all, but I don't hate it. Let's say that. Okay, there's the Natasha Denona Roxa palette. It's interesting because it says this is inspired by the Lila palette. I wanted the Lila palette so badly for so long. Purple is my favorite color. That said, as I've learned over the years, although purple is my favorite color, it's not my favorite eyeshadow color. And so although when I see a purple eyeshadow palette, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous, it's because I'm looking at a bunch of purple and I think purple is gorgeous. And that's something that I remind myself of when I see purple things. That said, I love the Lila palette. Like, I had to talk myself out of buying it several times. When I look at this palette, I'm like not interested at all. I don't understand that weird stripy shade. Reminds me of, was it Anastasia Beverly Hills or was it Huda Beauty? I think it was Huda Beauty who had like that weird marbled, for lack of a better word, the one that looks like it's like bacteria in a lab sample. It kind of reminds me of that. Like, it's clearly not the same texture, but just why are we doing weird split bands like that? I don't get it. I just don't think this is that interesting. And like the colors, this is really pink with like a red, a peach, and 2 purples. I'll say three purples. This is really just a pink palette with some purple. And that's disappointing to me because to me the Lila palette was a purple palette first and foremost. Next, there's the Arcane by Fenty Beauty Netflix collection. I might have already spoken about this before, perhaps when it was first announced. I love League of Legends. It's probably my most played game, I'm guessing. Surely it is. Although I play it because I like the gameplay, not because of the lore. But I did watch Arcane when it was coming out, like this most recent season, and thought it was beautifully done. I don't necessarily hate this release. I'm not sure I fully understand why it's with Fenty or like what Fenty has to do with Arcane in any way, shape, or form. But I think what's disappointing about this is that the only thing that I can see that has Arcane packaging on the products itself is that 4-pan in the middle. Everything else seems like it's being released as part of this collection, but like, I'm pretty sure those lip balm colors or the lip gloss colors are just what's being done before, so I'm not really sure where the collaboration part is in this release. So it's just kind of disappointing. It's like, it's things that I like that are coming together in a way that doesn't equal more than the sum of their parts, which is what I hope for when it comes to collaborations. Okay, there's the By Terry Starlight Glow CC highlighter. When I first saw this, I looked this up to see if I could buy it. I believe that when I did so, it's like a UK brand or something like that, so I would have to purchase it from like across the sea. And these are $72 to begin with, and I think with the exchange rate, this was like literally over $100 or something like that. So no thank you. I don't need a highlighter for $100. But I think the imprint on this design is beautiful. I love these colors. The darkest one is too dark for me, but the other two look like they might work. Maybe. But I think these are stunning. And I like the outside packaging, I'll be honest. Maybe it's cheap looking to some people, but I like it. I just don't like it for $100. Next are the Ilia Ethereal Baked Face Palettes, featuring a longwear bronzer, highlighter, and blush. Presumably 2 blushes, because there's 4 things and they only listed 3. I'm not entirely sure. I don't hate the idea of a face palette. If I were to buy a face palette, I'd want it to be one in which I could customize it. And I'm not aware of, I think, any companies that do it. I know Hourglass, is it Hourglass where you can pick some of them, or was it you could just pick your outside packaging and they decided on the shades for you still? But even then, like, I'm not interested in Hourglass. I'm not buying it from them. So all of that to say, I like the idea of a face palette. I said I don't hate it. I like it. I like the idea of one, but not one in which I'm locked into things that are pre-selected for me, because I suspect that it's just, I feel like for the most part, I tend to fall between fair and medium. So when you have 3 options like this, like, it's just, them are going to work for my coloring. And I also find these to be particularly uninspired, because I'm sorry, but looking at those 3, I assume bronzer shades, the second shade in each one of them, it looks the exact same. The third one looks slightly darker. Middle one looks slightly warmer. But other than that, like, they're the same. So I don't know, maybe this is like, there's 3 of them and clearly one's intended to be for darker skinned people. One of them is intended to be for lighter skinned people, but they're just so similar that I have a hard time imagining the shade range this would work for. And I just don't think these colors are that nice. I feel like anyone who has any amount of makeup kind of just already has these colors in their collection. So I don't know. It's a bit unfortunate, because $58, I would be willing to spend, well, that's American, so it's probably like $75 Canadian. But if it was $58 Canadian and I could pick the colors for myself, and there was more options than these 3, like I didn't have to pick the colors from these 3 palettes, I could be intrigued. But right now it's uninspired. Okay, this is what I wanted to come to. The e.l.f. Glitter eyeshadows. So I've heard people talk about these being Urban Decay dupes, these being Patrick Ta dupes. Again, I don't care whether or not they're dupes. I'm not trying to dupe Patrick Ta. I want a beautiful, glittery eyeshadow. And if that is provided to me, that's what matters, regardless of whether or not it's similar to another product. I am very tempted by the color Filthy Rich. It's sort of I've heard people describe it as the green one, and it is kind of green, but it's also like a gray green almost. I don't think I need it, and I suspect I won't end up purchasing it, but this did enter my wish list for a while when these first came out, and then I took it off. I think these are pretty. I think if you're like me and you want a sparkly, pretty eyeshadow of good quality, this would be perfectly fine. Again, nobody's gonna know once it's on your eyes what brand it is. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's everything from Trend Mood 1 that I wanted to talk about. Let me go over to Point Click Vibes. So there's NYX, which is launching a buttermilk glaze skin tint with SPF. Kind of like this idea. Curious to learn more. I am like a little concerned that it's going to be, well, it's called a soft glow skin tint. So I'm not sure. I'm worried that it's going to be too oily for someone that has normal to oily skin as I do. But it seems like a smart release to me. There are these, again, NYX Lip IV Hydrating Gloss Stain Serum, $10. The color that's on the model in this picture looks beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. I love that red. It's like a cherry red. I don't think it actually says which color it is, or if it is, it's like being blocked by Instagram, but I'm intrigued. I'm hoping that when they come to Canada, they're not going to be like $27. But this seems like the sort of thing that if it's intended to be long lasting, I might pick it up. Man, that cherry red is so pretty. But I'll need to see more reviews of this before I go ahead and do that for sure. Basically everything perfume related I don't care about. I'm just into indie perfumes and As far as I'm aware, most people aren't covering indie perfumes, so everything by Kayali or whomever just doesn't interest me. I very quickly want to talk about the Blend Bunny by Robert Welsh collection. I'm concerned for the future of Blend Bunny. I've heard they have an incredible formula, but how many rainbow releases do we need? Like, I'm just not sure. Obviously, other people can answer that for themselves. For me, I have one pastel palette, and that's all I need. I can't imagine just... If you buy everything from Blend Bunny, I have a difficult time imagining that you have less than the 18 blue eyeshadows that you really want, you know? And my guess is most people don't purchase exclusively from Blend Bunny. Okay, next there's this Wet n Wild by Hello Kitty collection. Again, don't care about the collection part of this, but I think that highlighter looks so pretty. And again, it's split pan, like it's not gonna look good after you use it like 10 times, but it looks really pretty as it is now in the packaging. I think that's mostly it. It's kind of interesting to go back because I see where I left off and like the things that were being talked about. There was like the Urban Decay Star Palette, the NYX Face Glue, and like literally nobody has talked about them. At least nobody that I've watched, I think, has talked about them. So again, just a reminder that just because something is new doesn't mean you're going to have the same feelings about it as you might months or years down the road if you make a good purchase. So I think that's all that I had to share today. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out. And before I go, I'd like to take a minute to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. Bye.